And then what I'll do here is, this is Emmy's character. Let's see, right here. Does everybody see Emmy's character? So what she's saying is she's having trouble here with this white area. Let's see something here. And I gotta turn on, let me turn on, 1 second. Okay, here. Okay, so yeah, she is having an issue with this white spot here. So, Emmy, these are two separate shapes? Like the bottom of the
Yes.
chicken and the top?
I just group it.
Yeah, you want to have the green extend, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all you need to do is just extend the path that you drew.
Uh-huh.
Just make it longer, and then have the bottom of the pear shape, the body of the pear. It's not a pear. I was calling it a pear. It's a chicken wing, right? But it's green. A chicken leg, a green chicken leg. So it's just a matter of having your layers set up a certain way. So this is going to be my primitive looking chicken wing. So here, so let's say this is my really bad looking chicken wing. Okay, so like this is the bottom part, and then you have the top part.
Where'd you put that other baby? Oh my
So let's fill this with green. So you just need to extend it. Right now you have something like this.
Yeah.
There's the gap. You just need to extend it, and then you just need to overlap two shapes.
Oh, okay. I got it.
So that's all you need to do. Like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, that's it. That's all you need to do. You just need to extend the shape and then overlap it.
Okay. Thank you.
So I have to finish the character for the example. So that's my version of your chicken leg. Yours is much better than mine. So what I wanted to go through tonight though is how do you take one of these artboards and separate it, the group, and bring it into Photoshop as a series of layers. So when you create these artboards in Illustrator, if you save it as a regular Illustrator file, the extension is .ai, and that saves all the artboards, and when you open it up again, you know, it's the same file, you have all the artboards. But let's say you want to save just one artboard and you don't want the other artboards. And the reason you want to do that is because you want to export that one artboard into Photoshop, and you don't want to export all four into Photoshop, you just want one. So in this example, I want to export my banner, because that's like a web banner, and maybe I want to have some sort of animation. The way you figure out which artboard is which is you just go into Windows, and you go into Artboards, and in the Artboard window that pops up here, you can click on these numbers, and it will take you to that artboard. So this is artboard 1, And this is my postcard. Artboard 2 is my Instagram ad. Artboard 3 is my banner. And I already named it. So what you can do, here's Artboard 4. Let me see if, oh, this is like, let's say this is my Instagram ad. So you can double click on the names here and name your artboards just to make it easier. And you can change like the order if you want to with these arrow keys. And this little zigzag thing, when you click on this, I gotta zoom out to show you this. What this does, it just arranges your artboard. So let's say I want to have 4 artboards all in a row. I can say 4 columns, and you want to give it some space. So here I'll say 200 because I have a lot of overlap. You hit OK, and it kind of just organizes your artboards for you. So now I have 4 artboards in a row. If I want to have artboards from top to bottom, I can hit 1 here because it's giving me columns. You know, so I have 1 column. Hit OK, and now I have artboards from top to bottom. So that little zigzag in the artboard dialog lets you organize the artboards. Now if I want to export one artboard, the way to do it is to save the file format as an EPS. So if I go to File and go to Save As, you also have EPS as an option. So right here is EPS. The reason why you want to save something as an EPS is if you're going to bring it into another application, like InDesign. So EPS stands for Encapsulated PostScript File, and that's a file format that lets you bring in Illustrator files into other applications. It used to be a lot more useful, but you can actually bring in Adobe Illustrator files into InDesign anyways. So I don't know how useful the EPS file is anymore, but the one thing you can do is when you save it as an EPS file, this Use Artboards toggle pops up, and you can click on that, and now you can pick one of your artboards. If you have range selected, you can put a number in here, and that number represents that artboard. So the banner is number 3. So if I type 3 in there and then change that name to, you know, banner, hot dog banner, whatever. Then I save this as an EPS file. And right now, too, you notice in layers, when you're using artboards, it doesn't separate the artboards out. All the artboards share layers together. So that can be kind of challenging sometimes, too. Because if I brought this into Photoshop, I would have all these separate pieces brought into Photoshop when I only want to maybe adjust one artboard at a time. So if you want to separate them out, then you have to use this EPS file format. So once I hit save, I just hit OK. You don't have to worry about much of all of this. Embedding fonts is important because if you do bring it into other applications, the fonts will be part of the artwork and you won't have to worry about having separate fonts. So it's good to click on that. And link files as well, because sometimes you have artwork that's linked into the Illustrator document. So I'm going to hit OK, and then I'm going to go find that banner. So here it is, hot dog banner. Open it, and now I have the banner all by itself. So I don't have any of the other artboards. So it's a nice way to save out individual artboards as files. So now you have just one single file, and you don't have the other artboards getting in the way. And now when I go into my layers only show each individual part of that one artboard as well. So it's a little bit more clear what I have here. So I have the background, I have this golden curve element, I have the main most wanted text, I have the little call out, this is the text that's underneath, and then I have the actual logo itself. So now what I want to do is export this and bring it into Photoshop, and I want to have the layers from Illustrator be the same layers that will be brought into Photoshop. So when I open up Photoshop, I'll have all these layers there. So I'm just going to go to File, and this time instead of just going to Save As, I go to Export, Export As, and I pick the Photoshop option. It's already selected here, but you want to pick Photoshop. So I'm going to pick that option, and one thing I realized too is you can actually click on Use Artboards and pick that artboard as well if you wanted to. So I guess that's another way to do it, but I wasn't thinking about that. But anyways, this is the method though, just to bring in the layers into Photoshop. So once I have layers here in Illustrator and I pick Photoshop as an option and I hit Export, this window pops up and you can write your layers right here. So you can either save it as a flat image and it will take all of your Illustrator layers and make it one layer in Photoshop, or you can say write layers and it will take each of these and bring it in as a separate layer. The other thing that's nice is that if you have text and the text is not outlined, it will actually let you adjust your text and save the text as a text file. So here under resolution, you want to think about what you're using it for in Photoshop. So if it is a web banner, you can set it at 72. You could also maybe set it at 150 and then play with it at a larger scale. But you don't want to go up to 300. That's just too much. It'll just create a big file that's has more pixels than needed for what you would use for a web-based project or something that you have for a screen-based project like an animation or a video. So the standard though is 72. So I'm going to hit OK, and then I'll go into Photoshop and I will open that file. So I'm going to find it right here, hit open, and actually it's on a different screen. Hold on one second. And here it is. Now the one thing that it does in Photoshop is it doesn't recognize the actual Illustrator document size, so it's bringing in everything that goes beyond the edge, and you would call this the bleed. In graphic design, the bleed is anything that extends beyond the actual page size of the paper. So it's bringing in more information than necessary. But what you can do then in Photoshop is crop it. So you can go to your crop tool, you can hit C for crop right here. And what you want to do though is turn off delete crop pixels. Keeping it turned on will basically cut the image. So I'll show you what happens. If I keep delete crop pixels turned on and I crop this to the banner size that I want, I'm just kind of guessing, but the size is actually, you can put the size that you want up here. And then when I go into my layers, I'm going to hide some of this stuff too. It's too much. Let's see. For that hot dog man character here, and I have to find him, so it's this layer, the first layer. And what I want to do too is go into the layers palette in Photoshop and just make the layers bigger. So I'm going to click the upper right hand corner menu and then go into options, and then make sure it's at the biggest size there. I guess it already is. Let me see. Okay, there. So here is my hot dog man right here. He's in this folder. But if I select him, you see how he's cut? That's because I kept delete pixels turned on. Yeah, hold on one second. So, delete pixels was kept turned on, and it should have been, I should have turned it off. So I'm going to undo. And then this time around when I hit crop, I'm going to turn this off, and then I'm going to crop it. And then when I select Hot Dog Man and drag him in, even though he is extending beyond the edge of the document where I cropped it, I still have the full image. So that's important to know. So when you do crop it, you have that full image, because what I want to do next is trying to figure out what I want to do. So let's say I want to animate this character now. So what you can do is play with the timeline. And the other thing I want to do too is, when I brought it from Illustrator, everything is in a folder. Well, I'm going to flatten each one of these folders. So if you hit Command E on a Mac or Control E on a PC, Control E, you see it right down here in the corner. What that does is it takes the folder and all the elements in the folder and it flattens it to one layer. So I really don't need all the separate elements. So like layer 3 is just the orange background. I don't need to have it in two separate folders in the layers in Photoshop. So I'll hit Control E or Command E. Now it's just one flattened layer. Same with, that one's already set. I'm going to keep my type layer because I may want to change the type. That little burst call out, same thing. So I'm going to hit Control E on that. Now I see the burst. And my text on the bottom, I'll keep it in the folder too, because you can adjust the text. You can select the text and you can change it in Photoshop, which is kind of nice. So it's letting you change it in Photoshop just like you could in Illustrator. But now let's say I want to animate this somehow. So let's say I want to have Hot Dog Man like run across the screen and then fade in the text. So what you can do is you can go to Windows, you go to Timeline. It's actually already selected here. And then for what we want to do is we probably want to do like a video timeline type animation. So in Timeline, this is a button where it says Create Frame Animation, and you can toggle it. If you click the little downward arrow, you can toggle it from frame animation to video timeline. And here I want to use it as a video type editing tool. So once you switch it, you can click on it, and then it will actually open up into this timeline, which is similar to like what you would find in a video editing program. So what you can do with this now is each of these layers here is the amount of time that it exists in the timeline, and it defaults to here, I think it's defaulting to 15, 5 seconds basically. So you have your frame number, and then here where you have 1:00, that's 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds. So this is basically 30 frames a second. So what you can do now with these layers is, let's say I want to have my text fade in. I can grab these bars, and here, I think I have to actually grab it here. So you can open up the folder, and then you can grab the bars, and you can change the position here, and now when I drag, that's where that text appears. And I can do the same thing now, let's say for down below here, for the other type layer. So maybe when this plays out, you have these elements appear. And then maybe the same with the burst, maybe maybe that appears last. And now let's say if I want to have Hot Dog Man run across the screen, what you can do is you click on this little, if you open up the layers, there's a little stopwatch icon, and you can click on that, and you basically that allows you to create keyframes. And the keyframes are these little diamond shapes. So you click on the stopwatch and you get a little diamond shape here. And you have 3 things that you can basically animate: position, opacity, and style. So if I want to change the position, have him move, first you click the stopwatch, the little diamond shape appears, and then you can move your timeline header, and then select your artwork, and then move that, and now he's moving across the screen. So now I have Hot Dog Man moving across the screen, and then Most Wanted, Perfect Hot Dog appears. I think the last thing I want to do is have him appear back at the end. So what I'll do for that is I will duplicate the layer. So I'll go here in my layers palette, grab Hot Dog Man, duplicate that layer. He appears twice now on the timeline. But for the last one, what I want to do is get rid of the keyframe where he's moving, bring him to the end, maybe shorten this, click the stopwatch again. And what you can do with keyframes is you can create keyframes and then you can move keyframes. So I want to move that keyframe where he's actually appearing to the end. And then I will select Hot Dog Man, and I'll drag him off screen. Got it. So now this is what happens. He runs, all the text appears, and then he comes back in. And that's kind of like my banner ad. And the other thing I can do is animate opacity. So instead of just having the type appear, maybe I want to have it kind of fade in. So what you can do with this is, under opacity, you click that little stopwatch for opacity. So that's at 100%. If I move my timeline over to the left, I go to that layer where I have the type, and I lower my opacity here. So on top, I lower that opacity here. Now when I scrub it in, the text fades in instead of just popping in. And that's kind of a little bit more, subtle. When it pops in, it's more abrupt. It's nice when it kind of fades in. So I'll do that with 100% beef. So I'll hit opacity. But I click the stopwatch where the timeline is kind of further in a little bit, and then I move it to the left. Then lower the opacity for that. And then I'll do the same thing for Most Wanted. So I will click on opacity there, move it to the left, and then make opacity 0. So it's kind of nice when he runs over it, it fades in as he's running through. And then that's kind of my animation. So so once you have it set and you're happy with it, you want to save this as a GIF file. So basically you're making like a banner ad that's a GIF file. You can also save it as a video if you wanted to. So you can do either way, but if you're going to have it on a web page, most likely, well, it could be a video actually as well. So you can have a banner that's a video. So if you want to save it as a video, you just go to Export, Render Video, and just wait a couple seconds, it's thinking. And it'll bring up another window once this goes all the way through. And here you just want to save it as the default, H.264. Everything else is fine. So here, I'm just going to save it right to the desktop, hit render. And now it's saved it as a video. And then I'm also going to save it as a GIF to show you how to save it as a GIF. To save it as a GIF, you got to go to File, Export, and you have to go to Save for Web Legacy. this is the only place in Photoshop where you can save an animated GIF. So if I go to Save for Web Legacy, click on that, GIF is already here, and there's a little playhead at the bottom, so I can play it. I might have to make it bigger. And that's good. You want to make sure, it depends on how you do it, but most likely you'll want it to loop continuously. So the video option by default will not loop continuously, but the GIF option will let you loop something continuously as long as you have forever selected. You can say once, you can actually specify a number of times, but I think it's most GIFs usually go on forever. So I'll keep that, and then everything else looks good. You don't have to save anything else. I hit save. Save it to the desktop as well. And that's it for that. So to see these things in action, if I want to watch my video, it's pretty easy. I'll go to my desktop, and here's the video, and I just gotta double click on the video, open it up, and it plays. But like I said, it only does it once. The GIF file, if I double click on the GIF file, oh okay, it opens just fine. And then it should keep on going, which is kind of cool. So, and that's it. That's one of the ways to create animation, going from Illustrator into Photoshop using the timeline. There's other ways to do it, but I think for what you guys are doing, this was going to be the best way to do it for the time being. Because you can get into frame-by-frame animation, but it gets a little bit more complicated, and then you're getting really into a lot deeper into 2D animation. So any questions? What do you guys think about that? Oh. So is there any questions about that process? So yeah, so that's pretty much all I wanted to show you for that. Is just how to create animation using the timeline. So it's kind of optional if you want to do it for extra credit. You just got to remember you're just exporting one artboard. You don't want to export all the artboards, and then you can adjust that timeline in Photoshop. Has anybody used the timeline before like this? Charles, have you used it?
No, actually, no, not yet.
So
I knew it was there, but I forgot all about it.
So yeah, so if you guys want to try it out, you know, it's there for you. So that's all I kind of wanted to show you guys tonight. Does anybody have any questions about the project, or do you guys need any additional help with anything?
Joe?
Yeah?
So we're going to turn in by separate or just together?
So when you hand it in, what I would do is, this is what I would ask you guys to do, is hand it in as separate files. And
for the 4 of the image.
yes, send them to me as individual files. Just send them as PDF files.
Okay.
So I think last time I showed you how to export using the asset window as PDFs and PNG files. You can also just go to export. Actually, go to Save As, and pick PDF, and then click Artboards, and then click All. And then when you save this, I think what it'll do is save individual artboards. So I hit Save. And let me just double check to make sure it did that. You know, it looks like in what it does is it saves it as a PDF document with multiple pages. So what I would prefer actually is when you save this out, use the asset exporter. So you go to Asset Export, and let's see what's it. So it's just like I showed you last time, but instead of PNG, you want PDF. Click on this box down here. Click on Artboards, and then it'll have all of your artboards. You can either, it doesn't matter to click on all or range, as long as you have the whole range. You hit, I'm going to get rid of the PNG here, so it's only PDFs. Hit Export. That's because these already exist on my desktop or wherever, so I'm going to hit Replace. And they're actually located, those were located in a folder. Let me go back here. They are located in this folder. So so I'd rather have you save them individually. And here they are individually, but if I click on the PDF file now, it's just one per, like I go to, there's only one for the postcard, one for the banner, and then when you do this, make sure you save the names. So if I go back into Illustrator, you can click on your artboards and you can rename them. So rename them here so I know what each one is. So you can say flyer, you know, Instagram, banner. I forget, I think this was, that's another Instagram ad. But in the template, I have it set up as a flyer, Instagram ad, a banner, and a business card. So when I export it this time.
So when you say Instagram, is it like the first page, like as they had it, like a first page on Instagram?
What do you mean first page? Like
is it an ad, like one page ad on Instagram?
Yeah, it's just one square.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, if you look at the template, so I'll go into I sent the template out in an announcement. So did everybody get the announcement for the template? So right here, template for assignment 8.
I got it.
So you click on this.
Did you send this today?
I sent this like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, I see. Okay, I'll look for it.
And here I have the each one of the different artboards should already have that name. So flyer, business card, Instagram post, web banner. I have this this hamburger face in there, you can delete that. That was from when I was first talking about this assignment. So yeah, each element's already here for you to work with. The scales of these things are a little bit off. So this was meant to be 8.5 by 11. It's slightly off. So you can fix it too. You can fix each artboard if you want to. You click on the artboard icon here, and you can change the width and the height. Instead of 8.5 by 11, it's a little bit off, but I can fix that. But that doesn't really matter too much. And you know, actually, if you want to change the size of each of these artboards, you can. The ones that are kind of standard set though is the Instagram post, because Instagram is always a square, and the business card, which is 2.5 by 3 inches. Yeah, or 3.5 wide, 2 inches tall. And the banner ads are always different sizes, so that doesn't really matter. But you can use these as your different sizes for each one of the elements in the campaign that you're working on. So any other questions then about anything? Because this is all I'm really going to cover for today. So I wasn't going to get into anything new here. The only other thing I have is I wanted to show you real quick is I uploaded the hot dog design that I finished. I kind of made a mistake. I uploaded the hot dog man and I sent it out to you guys, and I called it I thought it was this last Tuesday's video. So I have 2 videos uploaded. If you go into my channel, this one that says DM10 week 13A is really just a step-by-step process of me finalizing that hot dog man character. So here, you know, just creating the teeth, and you can kind of see how I'm creating the different layers as I go about this to organize it. Like the eyes are all in one layer up here. Certain elements are in their own layer. And if you watch this, you can kind of see the process where, like, I create the eyelid, but I duplicate the eye, and then I put the eyelid in the middle of the 2 circles for the eye, and then the circle on top becomes a clipping mask for the actual eyelid, and then the circle down below stays. So you can kind of see me doing this. So it's just kind of like an example of creating the character.
Did you send this out already?
Yeah, I sent this out already. But it's just me doing it. I'm not really talking about the steps. I'm just doing it. And you can see it down below here. I do have the shortcut. So if I, like here, I create an eyelid. I duplicate the eyeball, the circle, and I bring it to the top. And
But it looks bigger.
what looks bigger?
The black side looks bigger than the circle, the white circle down.
Oh, the eyeballs?
Oh, I see. Okay, I know what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm just creating an eyelid by drawing a shape.
And then how did you cut the extra, the black?
I use what's called a clipping mask.
Oh, okay, I see.
So you'll see it here. So I have an eyeball selected on top. You hit Control or Command 7. I don't think I'm selecting the right circles.
Is this Photoshop?
No, this is in Illustrator.
Yeah, I didn't know there is clipping mask in Illustrator.
Yeah, so here in Illustrator, like for the eyeballs, I have a circle.
Mm-hmm.
I'll make my layers big so you can see this. So I have a circle, and then I create my eyelid. So I use the pen tool. Actually, I use the curvature tool. So double click for the first point, draw a point to give the curvature for the line, double click again, click once, and then close it by clicking where I began, and then fill it with a color here. So if I open up the layers, the eyeball's down below. So what I do then is I duplicate the eyeball by dragging it onto the piece of paper icon. So I drag this onto the piece of paper icon in layers. And then I take that eyeball and I drag it to the top. And then I select the eyeball that I duplicated to the top and that eyelid. And then I go to Object, Clipping Mask, Make. And it's Control 7 or Command 7 on a Mac. And I select that, and then it uses the top circle to cut the eyelid that's down below. And since I duplicated it from the original circle's still there. So you see how I did that?
Yeah, this is very important to learn because you've been doing it. And what the problem is, like when we're in class, like because of the names and your picture comes over like the layers, it's hard to see how you're manipulating the layers.
Yeah, well, if you just watch this, when I post this, that's the process of creating a clipping mask. But many times, like if I take,
especially when you say like you duplicate the layer.
yes, to repeat the layer. So you can do it two ways. Here I have this oval shape. And let's say I'll create another shape. Let's say I'll have a star. I'll just have this star here. So let's say I want the star to be cut by the oval shape, but I still want to have an oval shape down below. So what you have to do is you duplicate that oval shape. One will remain because it's going to be the shape that's always there, and then the oval shape that you duplicate and you bring to the top is going to be what cuts out the star. So here I select that oval shape down below, and I can go into the layers and select that layer too, and just drag it to the piece of paper down here. It creates a duplicate, and then I can drag it to the top. And now I have that oval on top. So if I click on the oval on top and the star shape and hit Control or Command 7, it cuts it. So now I have what looks like a star inside the oval shape.
So you're doing it in the duplicate copy.
Yeah, but you can also, if I undo a couple times, select that oval shape, hit Control C or Command C, and then hit Control C or Command F, and Command F is paste in front, and then you can just drag it onto the front like that too. So it's two ways of doing it.
And then Command 7 here to cut.
Yeah, it cuts it, yep. So this is good for like shapes within shapes, you know, like the eyelid, like the mouth of something. It's kind of the same way. Like the smiley face mouth. If I first create two oval shapes like this, and then go into Pathfinder, and say exclude front.
You didn't use Pathfinder earlier.
No, this is a different example.
I see.
So this time, let's say I want a mouth. So I'm just creating the base shape, like that's the mouth. But let's say I want to have like teeth inside of there. So the way I created my teeth was drawing a bunch of like vertical lines. Here I'm just going to duplicate them by Option Shift or Alt Shift selecting, dragging it out once, and then hitting Control D or Command D to create multiples. So now I have these lines in my layers, and then I want to have like another curve come down, so I'll use my Curvature Tool, draw a point there, point there, point there. And then what I would do is take that smiley face down below, duplicate it. But here with all of these pieces, what you want to do is take all these pieces now. Oops. There. I'm selecting the circle here in the layer while keeping the my shift key down, so it's going to select each of these lines for the teeth. You select those lines, and then what you want to do is you want to combine them so it's one piece of artwork. So now you go to Object, Compound Path, and you turn it into a compound path. So now if you look in your layers, all those separate lines are now one layer. And now if I duplicate the mouth shape, duplicate it by dragging it onto the piece of paper, make sure it's on top, you select the mouth, you select the teeth, and then you hit Control 7. Now it cuts that out too, so now I have my mouth, the teeth.
Can you tell us when do you use compound path and what is it physically? If you can show it to us on the picture, what's compound path?
Yeah, so the compound path is all these separate lines. So one reason you want to use compound path too is to take artwork and combine it into one piece of artwork. Because if I don't do that with the clipping, so I'll get rid of the compound path. Now I'll select the mouth here, duplicate it, bring it to the front. Now if I select the mouth on top and all those lines, and then I hit Control 7, I guess it still works. So it still works the same way, but sometimes I like to combine the teeth into a compound path to make it one piece of artwork. So either way, it's still going to work. Sometimes you do get weird errors where it doesn't recognize each separate piece, but here the clipping path worked just fine. So
the job of the compound path is to put them together.
yes. Yeah, so yeah, so that's like the banana character is kind of the part of that process. So you may want to use clipping paths or clipping masks to mask out elements if you want to have something like this, or you may want to use compound paths to combine elements as well. And if you have any questions, like as you're working on it, just go ahead and send me, like Emmy did, show me the progress, and I can help you if you get stuck somewhere. Like I'll help you finish the artwork. So how's everybody else doing then? Like how is yours coming along, Mary?
Oh, I'm still doing rough drafts.
So okay. Vivian, how's your rice sushi character? I don't know if Vivian can hear me. So
Yes, sorry, I was having trouble with my laptop, but it's coming out good. I'm still working on it. It's coming out well. I just have to put the text together.
okay.
But yeah, it's coming out well.
All right, so I think everybody's doing pretty good. But if you have questions, just go ahead and send me what you got, your progress in Discord, if you need help. Otherwise, we'll finalize this and have it due on Tuesday, and then on Tuesday we'll I'll give you your final assignment because we're pretty close to the end of class. And then if you have any catch-up work to do, just try to work on catching up on past assignments because I'm not grading for late assignments anyways, so you can get everything that you need to done. But other than that, I don't really have too much more to talk about tonight. So yeah, I was kind of make it a short class. We got a long weekend, and just try to get as much done as you can.
I came in late today, so I didn't catch what you did with the. Are you gonna post it like anytime early?
Yeah. So I went through. Basically, I did a quick little run through on how to take the Illustrator artwork, bring it into Photoshop, and create some sort of animation.
Yeah. I would like to see how you did it when you post the video.
Yeah, so that's what I described. So okay, you'll see it when I post it.
So when you say a story, do you want us to do also like founded in 1985? Is this part of a story?
No, I mean that's just stuff I made up. So you can make up whatever you want.
Okay.
Just think about ads that you typically see like this, and whatever you want to add, that's up to you.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to make sense. It can be kind of funny as long as it has a most wanted, tagline in there. That's the most important part. But everything else, the founding of it, whatever you want to do, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
But it should, make some sense in this, from the standpoint that you want it to be cohesive. So the design should be consistent throughout each element in the campaign. That's the most important part. Creating a consistent campaign. Who's going to do the animation? Anybody here going to do the animation?
I would like to do the animation.
I'm doing it.
So okay.
So in my case, like the mouth would open and close. Is that what it is?
Well, I wouldn't make it too difficult. Like, do what I did, where you just have something move across the screen.
But mine cannot move. I mean, how could like?
It can. You can do whatever you want it to do in terms of how it appears. So fading something in. So you see how the letters fade in.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. So you can do different things with it. It doesn't have to be
I can think of something now.
realistically representing what that thing should be doing.
Yeah.
Like he has a mouth, but I'm not gonna make the mouth open and close for this. That's just a lot more work. Like I'm not gonna make the arms move for this one. Now, if you feel like you can do it, you can if you want to. I'm not gonna stop you, but it's hard for me to get that deep into animation.
Yeah.
So I don't. So it's up to you guys.
I have in mind. I think.
So have them pop into the scene and pop up, pop out, fade in, fade out. Move left to right. There's all sorts of movements you can do, but it's like it would take a whole class for me to get into like all the animation, that you could possibly do with something like this. So,
Joe,
yes.
can you show me again how to do the PDF for like just one, and for like all in one the PDF?
You only want one PDF?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to save just like one PDF, all you need to do is you go into File, Export. This is the easiest way to do it without using the asset export. I'm sorry, go to File, Save As. And let's say you want to save one artboard as a PDF and that's it.
Yeah.
Just click on Use Artboards and then click on Range and pick the number of the artboard you want to export. So if I want to export, number 1, the flyer, just hit number 1. But I would also make sure you save the name as whatever it is and then add that name corresponding to the artboard. So here it's saving this as, like most wanted flyer. then that's it. So you can save individual artboards.
Oh.
And then yeah.
Or if you use all, that means all of them.
Yeah, if you hit all, it's going to save each one as a page within the PDF document. So here's what I just saved, most wanted flyer. And it's, if you click on in the PDF in Acrobat, you click on the sidebar, there's a page icon, you see there's only one thing here. So that's saving out the artboard as a single individual file with no additional artboards or pages in the PDF. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
So, okay. Anybody else with any questions? So, okay. Well, that's it for tonight then. So on Tuesday, what we'll do is we'll look through everybody's characters and campaigns for this, and then have a good Memorial Day weekend, and don't work too hard. And that's all I have for tonight. So have a good night then, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Okay.
Thank you.
Good night.